Okay, so it has been a little while since we have given an update. We don't really have a great excuse. The summer just got really busy with things besides house building, so we weren't making a lot of progress for a few months there.
But we are back to update you on everything that had to happen between the first and second layer of tires. Blackwater pipes, vapor barriers, French drains, insulating the tires, and Geomesh. Feels like we've been doing a whole bunch of little side quests. Hi there, I'm Patrick.
And I'm Lorana. Welcome to Hole in the Ground.
This is the beginning of our journey to build our Earthship home
Which we affectionately call a hobbit hole.
in beautiful Idaho.
This was by far my least favorite part of the project so far. It honestly should not have been that difficult, but everything about installing the Blackwater pipe to run out to our septic tank just seemed to go wrong. Before we started building up the earth bank behind the first layer of tires, we needed to dig a trench for the Blackwater pipe and put it through the sleeve Patrick had installed before our concrete footings were poured.
We bought a 3-inch PVC pipe, dug a trench for it, and ran it through the footing. You're actually seeing footage here of our first failed attempt. Then I realized we didn't know what Idaho code said about the diameter of a pipe running out to septic. So I made a whole bunch of phone calls and finally got in touch with the very helpful plumbing inspector for this region, who let us know that it needed to be 4 inches in diameter. Whoops. Then he casually mentioned that we needed to have a clean out 2 feet from the foundation of the home. We had no idea we needed this. And if you remember, there will be an earth bank built up for about 10 feet behind the home. So that means that we will have to have this giant 10-foot stick of PVC sticking out of the ground for our cleanout, which will eventually get buried in the earth bank with only the little bit sticking out at the top.
Anyways, we got some 4-inch PVC and at first tried to make it fit in the trench we had dug for the 3-inch PVC. And as you can probably guess, that didn't work at all. So we just rented a trencher again, dug the trench wider, finally got it through the sleeve and said good riddance to that part of the project until we have to extend the Blackwater pipe when we actually install our septic system.
In order to keep moisture from getting into the house, there will be a plastic vapor barrier that wraps all the way around the earth bank like a giant envelope. So before we could start backfilling dirt and building up the earth bank, we had to lay out our 6 mil plastic. We did this at the same time that we were installing the French drain.
Another way that we are protecting our home from extra moisture, especially after big storms, is by installing a French drain all around the footing of the home. The French drain has a perforated pipe which we wrapped in this fabric sleeve like a giant sock. Then the perforated pipe sits in gravel, which is wrapped by non-woven geotextile fabric, sort of like really thick weed fabric. We tried a few methods, but we found that it worked best to lay out the fabric first, then put gravel down and wrap up the pipe and gravel in it like a burrito. Once we had wrapped up the drain, we could start putting dirt over top of it to weigh it down and start building up the earth bank. After we did some initial backfilling, we put spray foam between each of the tires and installed a sort of drainage mat. Again, all of this should help protect the home from extra moisture.
After all that, we got dirt put in behind the first layer of tires. It seems small, but this really made it feel like we were starting to build a tire wall rather than a sneaky single line of tires. Once we had dirt in behind the first layer, we installed our first layer of Geomesh. The Geomesh is required in our engineering plans, and it will hold the tire wall and the earth bank together and keep them from falling forward into the house. The Geomesh is what we are using instead of lots of concrete buttresses. This Geomesh will go after the first layer of tires and then every other layer of tires after that. These rolls of Geomesh are heavy. We got the Geomesh laid out and cut into segments, then laid them over the tire wall and used this pipe hanger material to secure them to the front of the tires.
The Geomesh really grabs at your shoes and it's kind of tricky to maneuver over all the rebar, but we eventually got it all done, including some expert work on the corners that Patrick made look very nice.
It's been a minute, but we finally got the Geomesh down and we're ready for the second course of tires. So things that had to happen between the first course of tires and the second course of tires. You can kind of see we did some spray foam up in the gaps and kind of around each tire, just at the seam. as like a vapor barrier thing. We've got this kind of fibrous material as a drainage mat, if you will, for the back of the tires as well. There's a French drain underneath here, kind of going right behind the footing. It wraps all the way around and pokes out the end on both sides. At the backfill, we put down a vapor barrier. You can see here is also kind of this vapor barrier goes basically from here all the way around, and will basically make a giant C enveloping all of the geomesh, which has now been, the first layer of geomesh has been laid, which is exciting. We also ran our Blackwater pipe, or at least 30 feet of it or so. You can kind of see our monstrous 10-foot clean out. We just left it tall because the earth bank is going to be built up probably pretty close to that, so we want it to be, sticking out a little bit. And yeah, our main goal is to get our floor poured before winter time. A good friend of ours who's a builder said that we should definitely make that happen before winter sets in, to make sure that the footings don't potentially heave over winter, which would not be good. It would be suboptimal. So we need to get all of our plumbing kind of roughed in, our gray water system roughed in, and then fill this all in with road base and get a floor poured.